Skylar wasn't thrilled about the field trip. An old dusty museum? On a Saturday? It sounded beyond boring. He would rather be playing video games with his best friend Max. But here he was, stuck on a bus full of rowdy 7th graders headed to the Athelred Historical Museum. As Skylar shuffled through the echoing halls, he felt a strange pull towards a dimly lit chamber. Inside, a glass case displayed a gleaming obsidian pyramid. It pulsed with an unseen energy. Skylar felt strangely drawn to it. He couldn't tear his eyes away. Suddenly, the air crackled. The pyramid vibrated. The room plunged into darkness, and a high-pitched hum filled the air. When the lights flickered back on, Skylar was alone. The other students and their teacher were gone. The once silent museum was now filled with strange whispers. Skylar backed away from the case, fear gripping his heart. What was happening? Where did everyone go? He reached for his phone. No signal. He had to get out of there. Skylar raced through the darkened corridors, his heart pounding in his chest. The whispers followed him, growing louder. They seemed to be coming from the walls themselves, whispering his name. The museum felt different now, alive. He stumbled upon a hidden chamber, its entrance concealed by a tapestry depicting a fierce battle. A strange energy emanated from this room, beckoning him closer. His hand trembled as he reached for the tapestry. He didn't want to know what was on the other side, but some unseen force compelled him forward. He pulled back the tapestry, revealing a circular chamber bathed in an ethereal blue light. Standing in the center was a magnificent sword, its blade humming with power. It was as if the weapon itself had a heartbeat pulsing in sync with his own. He cautiously approached, mesmerized. As soon as Skylar's fingers brushed against the hilt, a jolt of energy surged through him. Visions flooded his mind. Battles fought in ancient times, men and women wielding unimaginable powers, and a prophecy foretelling the rise of a champion. He was the champion. He was the one destined to wield the sword. Skylar stumbled back, collapsing to his knees. His head throbbed with the influx of information. The visions faded, leaving behind a dull ache. The sword, however, continued to hum, its blue glow intensifying. He had touched it, been chosen by it. But chosen for what? He felt different, stronger. He glanced down, his hands crackled with a faint blue energy mirroring the sword's glow. The whispers he had heard earlier were gone, replaced by a strange silence. It was as if the museum itself was holding its breath, waiting for him to make a move. Suddenly the ground shook. Dust rained down as a deep, menacing laughter echoed through the chamber. A figure materialized from the shadows, shrouded in darkness. The air grew heavy, suffocating. Skylar struggled to breathe. His newfound strength felt insignificant in the face of this overwhelming presence. So, the prophecy proves true, the figure rasped, his voice dripping with malice. The descendant has found the sword of Ethelred, but he is weak, just a boy, playing at being a hero. The figure chuckled, a chilling sound. The sword is mine by right, and soon, all of this world will be under my control. Section 4. Shadows stir, a villain rises. Skylar's fear threatened to consume him, but he forced himself to stand tall. He gripped the sword of Ethelred, its comforting weight grounding him. The blue glow intensified, pushing back the shadows and illuminating the figure. It was a man, his face contorted in rage, his eyes burning like hot coals. "Who are you?" Skylar's voice, though trembling, echoed with newfound courage. "I am Malcor," the figure boomed, "and I will not be denied what is rightfully mine." Malcor raised his hand, and bolts of dark energy shot toward Skylar. He instinctively raised the sword, deflecting the attack. The impact sent shockwaves through the chamber. The ground split beneath Skylar's feet. He barely managed to maintain his balance. Malcor laughed, a cruel, mocking sound. "You are but an insect before a storm, boy. Surrender the sword, and perhaps I will grant you a swift death." Skylar knew he couldn't win. Not yet. He had to get away, find help. But how could he escape this madman and protect the sword at the same time? Skylar's mind raced. Malcor was powerful, that much was clear, but the prophecy, the sword, they had chosen him for a reason. He had to believe that. He had to fight. With a surge of adrenaline, Skylar charged, the sword of Ethelred ablaze with blue light. He moved with a speed and agility he never knew he possessed. Malcor, surprised by the boy's sudden ferocity, raised his hand to unleash another blast of dark energy, but Skylar was faster. He deflected the energy blast, sending it ricocheting off a nearby wall. He swung the sword, forcing Malcor to parry the blow. The clash of energies illuminated the chamber, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. Skylar pressed his attack, driving Malcor back. Malcor, enraged, roared, "You dare defy me, boy?" He opened his hand, and a swirling vortex of dark energy materialized above him. "You will pay for your insolence." Skylar knew this was it. He had to give it everything he had. He focused all his energy into the sword, channeling the power within him. The blue light intensified, engulfing him in a blinding aura. The air crackled with raw energy. Skylar, bathed in the blue light of the sword of Ethelred, felt an overwhelming surge of power coursing through him. The visions returned, more vivid this time. He saw the prophecy unfold. A lone warrior, wielding the power of the ancients, would rise to defeat a great evil. He was that warrior. Malcor, momentarily stunned by the intensity of Skylar's power, hesitated. This gave Skylar the opening he needed. He lunged forward, the sword of Ethelred slicing through the air. The blade connected with Malcor's defenses, shattering his dark energy shield. A scream of pain echoed through the chamber as Malcor staggered back, clutching his arm. The darkness that had enveloped him receded, revealing a glimpse of fear in his eyes. He had underestimated the boy, the prophecy, but it was too late. "This isn't over, boy!" Malcor rasped, his voice laced with venom. With a snap of his fingers, he vanished into thin air, leaving behind a faint smell of sulfur and a promise of vengeance. Skylar stood panting, the sword still glowing brightly in his trembling hands. The chamber was silent, the only sound his own ragged breathing. He had faced Malcor and lived to tell the tale. But at what cost? The power coursing through him felt intoxicating, dangerous. As the adrenaline faded, exhaustion washed over him. He collapsed, the weight of his destiny settling heavy on his young shoulders. He was no longer just Skylar, the seventh grader who dreaded field trips. He was the bearer of the sword of Ethelred, the last hope against an ancient evil. His journey had just begun,